Two, one, and we're live again. Welcome, everyone, to yet another episode of Face the Camera, where every Tuesday and every Thursday, I'm going to get on live right at this time, noontime Eastern Time, and talk about what it takes to get out in front of your audience and show up in a way that is genuine, authentic, and real. And so that you can actually make real connections with people and give them the experience of not only who you are, but what you believe in, what you stand for. What's the purpose of your whole thing that you do? And this medium, I'm this super big live video evangelist for this medium. And I believe in it so strongly. And today, this day right here, we are talking about how do you achieve whatever pinnacle of success that you have set out for yourself? How do you do that with the least amount of effort? That's my question. And that's what we're going to talk about today. If you're here, just say hello so I can actually see you in the comments. I've got a big dashboard here. So if you're here on YouTube, put something in the chat. Just lets me know where you're coming from and that you're here. And if you're doing this on Facebook, same thing. Put a comment in there. And if you're following me on LinkedIn, especially if you're on LinkedIn, I want to hear from you. I want to see that you're here. And this is my question for you. When I say anything like, you can achieve success with a little bit of effort, like achieving success with the least amount of effort. When I say that, does your mind and your mindset go, oh no, that sounds like cheating? That feels like it's doing something that's unfair. And so if you agree with that, if that's your knee-jerk reaction, write unfair or write cheating. Because I know for myself, like, okay, I'm going to identify like white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. This is my people, and I'm not going to like deny that or feel less proud about it. But the whole work ethic, the Protestant work ethic of you're going to toil and you're going to strive and you're going to suffer all through your life, and your reward is going to be later on. It's going to be in heaven. Like that's that whole thing. Like ever since the people first sort of landed in New England and where I live. And started toiling and striving. I mean, this has been the thing that is just this cultural way of being that we've all inherited. And, or at least my generation and my family had that as an inheritance. And I'm not sure it's led us to the right place. I mean, what I see, and I'm sure you've seen examples of this, where, in the startup culture, in today's world, you have this thing where the CEO of the startup is the first person into the office in the morning, and he's the last person to leave at the end of the day, maybe late at night. And all the other people working there, if you left before the CEO, woe unto you. You would be considered like outside the culture. And whole companies have been growing up and developing with this kind of work ethic and this kind of definition of what success looks like. And the followers and the people who sort of are the disciples of somebody like Gary Vaynerchuk, it's the same sort of hustle and grind and you got to get out there and crush it mentality. And there's many examples now. You'll see them, even in the digital marketing space, all these YouTubers and people who are doing social media, they're burning out. They're number one, they're feeling overwhelmed. And when you overlay that with like what's going on in the world right now with the pandemic and on, like all this stuff going on, people are just like up to here with, I've got too much to do, I've got too much going on, and I'm not able to have a life that works for me beyond all this work that I have to pay attention to all the time. So what brought this to my attention? The reason that I'm talking about this today is that I was listening to a podcast this week, and often the inspiration that I get for the live videos that I do come from things like this, things that I'm always reading and or listening to every single week. And just a few days ago, I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts that comes out every Monday. And I put actually the link to it in the comments. It's a podcast called 3 Clips, and it's by a guy who I've met who lives actually here in Boston. His name is Jay Akunzo. And if you would like a great tutorial on how to do, take your podcast and turn it into this really high production value show, then you want to follow Jay and his podcast called 3 Clips. And basically what he does is he finds the really best examples of podcasts that are out there, and he meets with the creator of the podcast, and they break down one of the episodes, and they play 3 clips from that episode, and they break down sort of what's working and why it works so well. So this week, he was interviewing the creator of a podcast from the company Buffer. And what they did, which was so amazing, was they created a podcast which was a series. It was like a 5-part serial narrative story that was following the story of a company in New York called Gin Lane. Now, Gin Lane, if you've never heard of them, was the top, like absolute top marketing agency in New York. And they worked with companies like Harry's, the razor company, and Warby Parker, the eyeglass company, and these are direct-to-consumer companies that they helped launch and grow their brand into, collectively something, multi-billions of dollars. Now, the people who ran this company, the founders, their story was they had come to this place where they were absolutely at the top of their game, and they had reached a pinnacle of success, and they were feeling overwhelmed, and they were feeling overworked, and they were feeling completely burnt out, and they felt like they had lost the meaning and the purpose behind what they were doing. And what did they do? They shut their business down. This is the amazing part. They actually stopped the business. Like, Gin Lane doesn't exist anymore. They closed it. And what they're doing now, which is really fascinating, is that they're starting their own companies. And the first one is like a cookware company of all things. And they want to bring people into the kitchen. And their current motto is enjoy daily life. And so they completely did this, more than 180 degree shift. I don't know, up and down and sideways shift from this total hustle and grind and this total workaholic thing and this total thing of like being driven to one client to the next to the next. And even though that was giving them financial success and it was giving them notoriety success of being the best in their industry, it wasn't actually working for the people who were working for the company. And so anyway, they're now doing this really different thing. And those, I put the links to both of these. You can look at the 3 Clips episode where he's interviewing the guy who did this podcast, where they break down why the podcast works so well. That's a really good episode to listen to. But then if you want to go binge watch the 5-episode series, it's called Breaking Brand. So it's Buffer's podcast called Breaking Brand, and you can find it on any of the podcast delivery mechanisms. Just do a search and it's there, and you can binge watch or binge listen to the whole thing in no time at all. And it's just a great, great story. So this was one of my big influences by talking about this. And I was just saying, okay, so how does this apply to the digital marketing space? And so one of the things that I did just a couple of weeks ago is that I interviewed an author by the name of Alex Soo-Young Kim Pong. And Alex has written 2 books. And you can scroll down through previous live videos that I've done, and his episode is there, one of the early Face the Camera episodes. And Alex's first book was something called Rest. And the premise was that build rest into your day. And he was advocating not for, Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week. He was talking just simply about a 4-hour work day, where literally you come in and you work for like 2 hours and then you take a break. And then you go off and do something completely different. And that completely different thing doesn't mean that you're not necessarily doing something related to your job. It just means that you are not sitting in your office in front of your computer and stuck in this sort of non-creative mode of being in front of the computer. So let's say maybe you have meetings with people or you have calls to make. Well, you go outside and you go walking and you do all of that while you're in motion. Or maybe all you do is you just go for a walk so that you give your head some space to get clear and to kind of work subconsciously on whatever problem you're trying to solve. And that is when and where those solutions will come to you. So anyway, the book is fascinating. The conversation we had is fascinating. And his second book is all about the companies who are now like very successful companies who are now choosing to shorten their work week. So instead of a 5-hour, 5-day, 40-hour week work week, now they're condensing it down to like only 4 days or maybe 3 days. And what these companies have learned in this process, and there are many, many examples of all different kinds of companies, is that first of all, their success rate is increasing from the point of view of people are happier, all of their employees are more productive rather than less productive. They're actually getting more done in less time. So they're spending less time showing up, but they're getting more done. So the productivity is increasing. The retention rate at the companies has increased. So people are happier and they're staying with the companies longer, which means that the companies are spending less time and effort and money bringing in new people and training them and all that kind of turnover effort. So this is saving the company's money, and the whole community is growing and feeling good about itself. And then, of course, the bottom line is improving. These companies are actually growing and doing better now as a result of this kind of change. So this was a really interesting study of sort of this movement around how working less can actually give you more. And very fascinating conversation that I had with Alex in that previous episode. So I wanted to bring this whole thought experiment, and how do you do less but actually get more? And how do you reach a kind of success that's actually working for you as an individual? How do you do that? And in the space that I know I'm in, and most of the people who follow me are in, this whole digital marketing world and any kind of online business world, how does that work? And so what I'm seeing, and then I just want to get sort of brass tacks here, when you are approaching your online business and when you're approaching digital marketing, in specifically, the conventional wisdom, and this is what I want to challenge, the conventional wisdom is telling you have to focus on 3 things. The first one is traffic, and the second one is conversion. So you get a bunch of traffic coming to your website or coming to your social media posts or coming to whatever it is that you're doing, and then you want to convert them. So conversion. And then, of course, once you've converted someone in some way, then you want to retain them. You want to have this customer for life, and you want to look at what's the customer for life value to your company, all of that. So these are the 3 principles. And the way that most digital marketing is done, the way that all of the gurus and all the people teaching digital marketing are teaching it, they're saying things like, well, you need the most traffic possible. Like you want to target it, you want to get the right people, but you want to like use brute force to go out and reach these people and get people who've never heard of you to listen to you and to pay attention. And this is sort of this interruption, disruption marketing techniques. And increasingly, that kind of technique is working less and less and less. And even doing stuff like online webinars, that kind of teaching where you get on and you just teach something, that actually is working less and less and less. And so the show up rates to this kind of content are declining. And the conversion from this kind of content is declining. And so the answer for a lot of people is to like, well, let's just shovel in more money into the hopper. And so the return on investment, like how much you get back from the amount of money that you're spending, that's declining. So I want to introduce some new concepts to this sort of conventional, traditional way of doing digital marketing. And so we'll go back to the traffic thing. And I want to just go sort of into a Seth Godin mindset where he talks about minimum viable audience. And the minimum viable audience as a concept, goes to the whole true fan thing, that you don't need to have a huge number, like thousands and thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people in your audience to have a successful business. This is not what's required. What you need is a smaller group of people who are connected with you, who are now having a positive experience with you where they are getting the result that they want, where they are getting the solution to the problem that your business and that your whole thing provides. And in a more meaningful way, that they believe what you believe. Like your business and your work is on this mission. You're here to solve a problem. You're here to move people in a certain direction so that literally, some part of the world that you're influencing is now better. Or you're helping them make the world better in some way. Like this is the whole thing. So if you get a bunch of people, a relatively small group, enrolled in your vision, you get them enrolled and engaged in the thing that you strongly believe in, this purpose that you're here to serve, that group will do your marketing for you. So applying this to video, which is my medium of choice, and especially live video, when I'm speaking to people, like I'm speaking to you guys right now, if I can get you to buy into this thing, this mission that I'm on, like helping people show up, like my mission is that I want to reach, let's say, 1,000 true fans who are business people, business leaders, entrepreneurs, consultants, coaches, even nonprofit organizations, any of that, who have something of value to bring to the audience that they're here to serve. And I am here to help that group learn this tool, learn how to use this tool in an extremely engaging way, learn how to do a regular production show where they can deliver their message and they can become the leading authority and the go-to choice and the obvious choice for the thing that they do. And to be like the person that is the most trusted individual for the thing that is their specialty, for the thing that is their field, for the thing that they are so engaged with. And so if I can, deliver this to even just 1,000 business leaders, which I'm well on the way to doing. I'm sort of beyond that at this point in time. I just looked at my YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel has gotten 500, this is the channel. This isn't the number of views my videos have gotten, but just my channel. My channel alone has gotten over 500,000 visitors to come to my channel. Like, that's amazing. 500,000. This is, I'm going, wow, I'm starting to influence pretty large numbers. I'm nothing like a big YouTube celebrity, but I am making progress in this direction. And this is like, I sort of feel like, well, if I can do it, I can help just about anyone do this. And if I can do this through this live medium, I can help just about anyone do this, because we all have the tool to do this. Like, we all have our computer, or we have a phone, and the phone is connected to the internet, and we can all just open up our favorite app and start going live, just like that. And so the medium, like the ability to start speaking in an engaging way directly to whatever audience we want to serve, is literally in our grasp. And my mission is to help people, number one, get out of their own way and get over themselves so that they're willing and courageous enough and brave enough to do this. And then number two, learn the strategies and the techniques so that when they do show up, it's done in a really efficient and a really effective way so that the time that they spend doing this actually works and they actually do connect with the people that they want to serve, and the people who they want to serve feel like, oh my gosh, this was amazing, thank you. And if you can achieve that, then you start winning the game. And everyone, like every single person who has a phone in their pocket, and this includes you, if you're watching this right now, even if you're watching this on the replay, every single person can make a video, and because of the network that they currently have, you can have that video be seen by 100 people. You know, that's your minimum viable audience for that one video. And if you make content that is engaging, that is taking people to a place where they go, oh my gosh, you've changed my perspective on something. You've shown me something that I've never seen before. You have enlightened me or enriched my day in some valuable way. If that's the way they feel, if you make them feel that kind of emotion in the connection that you create and the experience that you create when you go live, if you do that, then what will happen is just like I did with you earlier today, like the podcast that I heard earlier this week, I'm telling you about it. And so they will tell somebody about the experience that they had with you. And it's casual and it's simple. And when they do that, the 100 people who watched your video, if they start doing that and they start coming back and they start bringing their friends, then your audience will grow. And this is why this medium works so well. So all of this is what I'm saying. This is traffic. This is the alternate route. This is the least effort method of solving the problem of traffic. It doesn't take brute force, and it doesn't take a lot of time, and it certainly doesn't take a lot of money, because the thing that I'm describing right now basically is free, or it's really close to being free. And of course, if you do want to spend some money, like if you have a video and you create it, and all of a sudden it starts taking off, like people love it, and they share it, and they heart it, and they like it, and you're getting all this response, well, yeah, take that video and put a little, boosting behind it, or repurpose it and put it out all over the place, and more people will see it, and more people will respond. All of that response is no longer cold outreach. These are people who will feel like they've met you. They will feel like they like you. They will feel like this reciprocal thing, like you've just gifted them with some experience that was positive, and they will want to reciprocate. And this is very warm traffic for you, which you can now follow up with. You can now continue the conversation. And Monica's here. Hey, Monica, great to see you. Thank you for your comment. Great comment. Love getting encouraging words from people who are here directly live. I want to hear from you, like, how are things down in Florida? And how many live videos have you done in the past week? Or let's say past month? How many videos have you done in the past month? That's this time right now, and I'm just going to do a little aside here. All these things that I'm talking about, given the current state of the world and how people are responding to the current state of the world, and literally in my world, I see this every day. Like, one of the first things that I do every morning when I get up is I go for a bike ride on the bike trail that's literally right next door to where I live. And so here I am riding along the bike trail, and I ride between the town where I live and I go up to Lexington, Massachusetts. And I go up there and I order an iced tea from Starbucks on my Starbucks app, and then I have, I put my Facebook mask on and I quickly go in and they're great. Like, it's done. And so I just come in, grab my iced tea, and then I sit on a park bench and I drink my tea, and then I get on my bike and I ride back home. And this is how I spend my mornings every single morning. And I'll be doing this all until it gets too cold to ride a bike. And this ritual is great because what I'm doing part of the time is I'm listening to one of my favorite podcasts sort of on the way down there. And then I'll just sit there and drink my tea and not listen to anything and let my head just kind of be open to whatever comes from inspirationally what I've just been listening to. And what I'm seeing is that there are other people going by on the bike trail. And what's happening is that people will be going along and they're going dum da dum dum da dum, and then they'll see me, and now like I'm a stranger and I'm in the real world, and if they're not wearing their mask, they'll immediately cover their face. They'll put their mask on, and then they'll walk by, and you can kind of see in their eyes that they're afraid, or they'll step 2 steps further away from you, even though they might be like 12 feet or whatever, like quite a long distance away. They'll move away, and this, you can feel the tension. Like, it's such, like, us humans, we're human social beings, and yet in today's world we are literally physically distancing ourselves from each other. At least, and I don't know where you live, what people are doing, what the behavior is there, but this is what I'm seeing in the world where I live and all around Massachusetts. I mean, Massachusetts culture has always been a little bit like arm's distance. It's not the warmest culture on the planet by any means, but now it's even further. People are like, don't come close to me. And so in this climate, this medium is one of the only ways that we can actually reach out and be human and be connecting with each other. This is a time when if you choose to show up for people and actually be there for them and connect with them on many levels that you choose to do that with, this will be meaningful. And when we're done, like when we finish, I'm going to do a little thought experiment here. So here's a little visualization exercise. Okay, we're going to have a little experience here. Now, visualize that we're in the future and the pandemic is done, like it's over, and we're beyond pandemic time. And everybody is like, not only are we beyond it, but everybody's going, oh, whew, thank goodness. Like now I'm totally comfortable going to any large gathering that I want to. I can have barbecues with my friends. I can go to the PTA meeting. I can go to the school with my children. I can do, all these things that we haven't been able to do. And you're totally like, cool, oh my gosh, this is so great. And so what do? You go to a local cafe. And now you can go into the cafe and you can hang out there. And there's tables and people are hanging out, and some people are on their laptops and some people are drinking coffee. And you walk in, this is the visualization, you walk into your favorite local cafe. And what happens is that you get to the counter and the barista behind the counter looks at you and you go, oh, I know you. You're the one who's been making all these videos for the past 6 months. And I love your work. This is what they say. And as you walk through the tables and chairs in the cafe, somebody else pops up and they go, oh, hey, it's so great to see you. In fact, I've been watching your videos and I love what you're doing on those videos. And it's really cool to meet you in person. Now, how would that feel? How would that feel in the moment when that was happening to you? And I just want to share that with you because these kinds of things are already happening to me and to my clients. When I go out in the wild and I see someone and they recognize me, I literally will have, even in this time of tension, people shouting out my name from some distance and saying, hey, Brad, how's it going? And the ones who know me and recognize me, they'll take their mask off so that I can see them and know who they are. And it's such a great feeling. Like, this is amazing. So I see comments coming in. I just want to see what's going on here. Paul Simon's here. Hey, man. Paul Simon says, changing ways of doing business, and yes, video is our future to connect. All right. He says, why fly or drive? Yeah, that's a really good comment. You know, I actually believe that this change that's happened, this change is going to really radically change a lot of the ways that business is done, and conferences are done, and speaking is done, and meetings are done. Because really, collectively, we are all now in this process of learning how to meet this way. And while I do believe that this will never completely take the place of in-person meetings are always going to be the best way, there's so much that we can do virtually. And so, you know, when you think about like, well, do I get the best return on my investment if I go to a trade show? Or do I get the best return on my investment if I create my own trade show that is virtual and I become the center of that activity? All of which is possible. So, right, so I have one more thing to mention, which is we were talking about traffic, we're talking about conversion. The conversion part is really simple because I'm talking to all of you and I can see your comments on my screen here. And on the screen that I'm using, I'm seeing comments from LinkedIn, and I'm seeing comments from YouTube, and I'm seeing comments from Facebook, all coming in on this one screen, which is phenomenal. And so here they are. Now, all of you, all of the people who are commenting on a video when you go live are basically, in the business world, leads. This is lead generation. And so I will have people who I've never met, or I don't know how they have met me, who may have seen several of my videos, may have been watching me for a while, and they'll start commenting. And they comment because they start feeling like it's comfortable. They start feeling like it's safe to join this public discussion. And they feel like they know me, and they feel like they trust me enough to where they can now speak, and they can now comment, and they can now talk. And so I've brought them over this, series of steps so that now we are commenting and we're talking back and forth. So I'm having a conversation with them. This is what's happening. And this is so much different than cold calling or cold emailing or cold DMing on LinkedIn or cold connecting. Like, it's completely, utterly different. And while it doesn't, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm, outreaching to tens of thousands of people every single week, although it could grow into that, absolutely could grow into that. In the meantime, I'm really connecting with warm connections, people who are now hearing and seeing and getting engaged in the discussion that we're having. Like, I'm here to lead a discussion. I'm here to talk about things that I believe in, things that I stand for, things that I think are important for us all to be moving in the direction of. And so the people who agree, the people who believe what I believe, or even the people who feel challenged by the things that I'm saying, are going to enter that conversation. And we can carry that conversation on together, and it will make it all the more interesting because it's not a broadcast. It's going to be this interesting thing that we do together. And when it comes to conversion, I can invite any one of you to have, a call with me, to get on a virtual coffee chat. And by the time I have that virtual coffee chat with someone who I've never actually talked to in person, all of these things that want to happen up to that moment, by the time we get on a call together, 80 to 90% of the things that might be holding them back from, in this case, making video and doing video marketing and growing their business using the techniques that I'm talking about. All the things that they might have been thinking about, like, how do I do this, and should I do it, and is it worth my time, and all those questions, all that stuff is being answered. And then the other part is, is Brad the person that I want to work with? And the answer is, well, I kind of like this guy named Brad, and he seems to know what he's talking about, and he's actually helped me a lot so far. So of course I'm ready. So if you are doing this kind of thing, like if you on a regular basis are speaking to your audience in this same way, using this same tool, being consistent, and actually not giving in the sense of teaching people everything you know, you don't necessarily need or want to do that, but you are speaking to them like human beings, and you are inspiring them to go on this mission, to go further than they've ever gone before, to believe in themselves enough to they or take this next step to get the result that they're looking for, to not settle for the thing that they've settled for. Because most of the reason that people aren't going to do your thing, like they're not going to take your online course, or they're not going to hire you, or they're not going to buy your product, the reason that they're not going to do it is because they've tried a whole bunch of stuff like that already, and it didn't work. And so in your conversation, you want to show sort of like, well, the reason that that didn't work, it is not your fault. It's because it was based on this old way of thinking. It's based on this old school approach. It's based on this traditional kind of mentality or mindset. And you have encountered and developed and know another route, another path. And you believe strongly, and you're an evangelist about it. And you help them by showing them parts of the new path. And when you do teach something, you're basically teaching things in the context of this new path, which is your path. And this becomes super attractive. And this is how you get like the third section where you get retention. You get retention in the form of people start tuning into your videos every week. And you get retention in the form of not only do they like you and start following you, but they start bringing people with them. And so now you're getting this community of friends, people who know each other, who believe in this thing and this mission that you're on. And many of them are going, well, how can we do it? Like, how can we work with you? So that when you launch your thing, like if you're doing digital marketing, you launch your product, you have this new product or this new program or this new offering. When you're ready to do that and you're ready to say, here it is, you guys, you're going to have this group of people who are completely and utterly ready to say yes to you. And you're, like, take us there. We want to do it. So, and going back to like the topic of this video, which is how do you get success with the least amount of effort? This thing that I'm doing, like right here, I'm doing this, I like doing this. Like for me, this is fun. For me, this is enjoyable. Talking to people and having people comment and going back and forth like this is a really enjoyable way of interacting with folks. And it's a matter of just getting used to, I'm looking at a camera and I'm looking at comments on my screen, and it's a fun thing to do. It's a fun thing to, and I'm excited about the work I do. I'm really excited about it. And when I actually get to work with people, either one-on-one or in a group program, which are both things that I do, it's exciting to me. I feel like I'm in my element, that I'm actually getting to help people accomplish this thing that they're passionate about. And I couldn't imagine doing anything better than what I do. So if you're in that mind space, if you get into that mind space of like, well, I can show up for my people and I can really be there for them, and all I have to do is do this for half an hour a week. That's it. And then the rest of the time, I can go out into the world and get inspiration. Like I can listen to my favorite podcasts. I can read my favorite books. I can join other groups and talk to other business leaders. I can go interview some of my favorite mentors and learn from them. You go after, like, I went after this guy named Alex, who I was really curious about. Like, okay, so tell me in person how these amazing companies were able to do so well when they actually shortened their work week or shortened their work day. This is radical thinking. I want to know about that. I want to know how they did it. And so I got a chance to talk with Alex for a full hour. I got to meet him in person. So great. that was really fun. And these are the kinds of things that you can do. And when you're doing this and you get into a frame of mind that this is fun, I'm putting on a show, and I like it, then it starts to really fall into place and feel really good. And when you feel really good about what you're doing, everybody who's watching you is going to be feeling really good about it. And they just start, your audience will naturally start to build and warm up to you. Your traffic will be warm traffic. You won't have to be reaching out to cold traffic. You won't be thinking, I have to, like, how am I going to find all these people out there in the world? If they only knew about me, they would find me. Well, that will happen naturally because the people who are now engaged with you, they'll bring them along. They're going to bring them with you. So I'm just checking the time. Oh my gosh. I've been going on for 40 minutes. This is a bit longer one. I try to keep these down to like half an hour, but sometimes it's so good I can't stop. So really great to see her. I'm going to look at the comments. Monica says it's really hot here. She's talking about Florida. She says she's making 3 videos each week. Awesome. That's so awesome. Posting LinkedIn and Facebook. Oh, that's so great. She calls it their 1-minute wisdom shifts. That's so good. What a great practice. Well, Monica is one of the people who has gone through my Big Reach program, and she is just killing it out there. So that's really great to see you on here today. And so that's it for today. Really cool to see you guys. And if you're here watching the replay, tune in. I'll be back Tuesday and Thursday every single week. And if you're watching this and we've never had a one-on-one, then reach out to me and say, hey, Brad, I'd really like to talk to you more about what you're doing and how maybe you can help me do this thing that you do. If you're interested in that, go ahead and reach out to me, and we'll set up and have a virtual coffee chat. And I can really sort of spend some time directly with you and see if see sort of all the different ways that your specific business or the work that you do, how you can apply video marketing, particularly live video marketing strategy, to your work. And I love having those kinds of conversations. And yeah, next time, if you love this video, like it, hit the share button, share it. And if you know somebody who would benefit from what we talked about today, somebody who might be overworked and overwhelmed, you got any friends like that? Anybody who's too super stressed and they're thinking, oh my gosh, how can I do all this stuff? And they might benefit from this discussion today, go ahead and share this video and tag them. Share the video and tag their name on the video. That would be awesome. Get them to watch it. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys later next Tuesday.